Chapter 19. The number 5. The fifth group of celestial beings is supposed to contain in itself the dual attributes of both the spiritual and physical aspects of the universe, the two poles, so to say, of Mahat, the universal intelligence, and the dual nature of man, the spiritual and the physical. Hence its number 5, doubled and made into 10, connecting it with Makara, the 10th sign of the zodiac, the secret doctrine, Blavatsky, I. 241. The celestial sign Capricorn, which is today the 10th sign of the zodiac, is composed of 28 stars, 28 equals 2 plus 8 equals 10, grouped in the form called the goat, and symbolizes this number 5 in its dual aspect. This is the most mystical, yet the most illuminating sign of the zodiac when we learn to correlate with its forces, for it shows man how to become the Lord of creation. The fifth order of celestial beings is a very mysterious one, as it is connected with the microcosmic pentagon, the five-pointed star, representing man. In India and Egypt, these deities were connected with the crocodile, and their abode is Capricornus. It becomes the task of the fifth hierarchy, the mysterious beings that preside over the constellation Capricornus, Makara, or crocodile, to inform the empty and ethereal animal form, and make it the rational man. The crocodiles in the celestial Nile are 5, and the god Tum calls forth these crocodiles in his fifth creation. In olden times Capricorn was called Makara, the fishman or the crocodile. Even today its symbol is a goat with the body of a fish, another glyph for man's power to swim in the depths, yet climb the loftiest peaks. It is the leviathan mentioned in Job, which emerges from the depths at the beginning of every cycle, climbs to the highest point of attainment and returns to the depths at the close of the cycle. Ma means 5 or man and Kara means a hand, hence Makara means the hand of man, his power to reach up and accomplish that unto which he puts his hand. The hand of man distinguishes him from all other animals, it being far more developed than that of the apes. It is not only the organ by which he accomplishes today, but it contains the record of all that he has accomplished in the past and a prophecy of that which he can accomplish in any one incarnation. I will write my law upon their hands. What is true of the individual is correspondingly true of the races. We are passing through the fifth great race and are still within the shadow of the fifth subrace. Bearing in mind the possibility of everything symbolized by number 5 becoming the overshadowing power and dominating that which is physical, also its dual nature by which it can reach up into the divine, we can grasp the significance of evolution, and especially of this cycle through which mankind is passing today. A glance at history will show us how man or humanity has dominated the lower kingdoms, how he has mastered the elements as they work in and through himself and nature. He has delved into the earth and brought forth her treasures. He has harnessed the lightning and with it girdled the earth. He has made the flame his servant and has traveled through the air. He has accomplished all this because he is man, the fifth creation, because he can reach up above the things of earth and enter the higher realms. Just as the half-terrestrial and half-aquatic animal Makara is supposed to dwell in the sea or climb to the mountain tops, so can man sink himself beneath the sea of illusion, the material world, or climb to the heights of spiritual attainment. The great warrior race of India, the Sikhs, were 5 articles whose names begin with K, Kes, long hair, Kaga, a comb, Kripan, a sword, Kak, short drawers, and Kara, a steel bracelet. They have 5 essentials in their religion, namely, simplicity of belief, worship, life, salvation for all, unworldliness, to be in the world, but not of it is their glory, the name, the repetition of the sacred name Wahguru, and meditation. They who meditate on God are emancipated. Their 5 virtues are contentment, compassion, piety, patience, and morality. The 5 deadly sins are lust, anger, covetousness, worldly love, and pride. The mystic wand, said to have been used by Moses and Aaron and all initiates, is described as a rod with a 5-pointed star at its end, figure 6, with which it is said all magical rites, both white and black, are performed. Before this magic symbol of the pentacle, every elemental force must bow. According to Philippus Levi, the empire of the will over the astral light, which is the physical soul of the 4 elements, is represented in magic by the pentagram. The pentagram signifies the domination of the mind over the elements, and by this sign are enchained the demons of the air, the spirits of fire, the phantoms of the water, and ghosts of earth. Equipped with this sign, and suitably disposed, you may behold the infinite through the medium of that faculty which is like the soul's eye, and you will be ministered unto by legions of angels and hosts of fiends. 3. But this must not be taken to mean that by the mere possession of this mystic symbol all these things can be brought to pass. For while the symbol is indeed potent, still only as man recognizes his divinity and unfolds the cube within and is crucified upon its cross, can he become both magician and the true talisman. Man himself is this pentacle, for with his hands outstretched, his feet spread and his head erect, he forms the 5-pointed star. Standing upon the foundation stone of truth, with his hands upraised in praise or outspread in blessing, and with his head to interpret the reports of his 5 senses, he must perfect his manhood and dominate all the kingdoms. But he must begin by dominating himself, instead of oppressing and dominating his fellow man and the lower kingdoms. The flames, which are said to issue from the 5 points of the pentacle on the end of the wand, are the powers inherent in the perfected body, the glorious robe of man's strength. For when the 5 senses of man are illumined by divine fire, they will radiate the spiritual powers by which he can perform all the miracles of Moses the lawgiver and emancipator. The mystic significance of this symbol is that as man, through his spiritual development, lifts up the fiery force of the Kundalini power which functions through the spinal column, the rod, and with it flaming forth from his 5 extremities and illuminating his 5 senses, the pentacle, on all planes, he becomes indeed a magician, capable of performing either white or black magic. The flaming pentacle also represents man's uplifted hand with his magnetic force streaming from his 5 fingers. The flaming pentacle is but another version of the truth symbolized by the parable of the 5 wise virgins who kept their lamps trimmed and burning, while the pentacle reversed refers to the 5 foolish virgins who could not enter in. The Roman general, Antigonus, who was beheaded by Mark Antony after the former's raid into Syria with the Parthians in AD 40, is said to have encouraged his troops on one occasion by telling them that he had been shown a pentacle, regarded as a symbol of power, success, and safety, in a dream. In the worship of Dionysus or Bacchus, the leaves of ivy and the vine were used in symbolic decorations, both leaves being shaped like a somewhat flattened pentacle. Since the pentacle represents man, its reversal, the 1 point down and the 2 points up, is a symbol of black magic, for this would place man's head and hands on the earth and his feet in the air. This would symbolize man focusing his five God powers downward on the lower planes, on himself instead of on the divine, and proceeding downward instead of evolving upward, using his head to scheme and his hands to pull down that which is uplifting and helpful, as he grasps for self at the expense of others, instead of blessing and uplifting all. His feet in the air would indicate man trampling God underfoot and making his own intellect, feet, understanding, his God. And thus turning his powers downward, he perverts both life and love. In other words, the pentacle reversed symbolizes man immersed in self and aspiring towards self-aggrandizement instead of towards selfless union with nature, his fellow men, and with the divine. Therefore, never reverse this symbol, especially when worn upon the person as an ornament. While by reversing this magical symbol, as is intentionally done by black magicians, certain results of a diabolical character may be attained, no black magician seeking merely for phenomena or personal power has ever or can ever truly enter into man's heritage of power, Philippus Levi, although assuring us of the potency of this symbol and at the same time stating that the position of the points is of no consequence. Nevertheless, as a result of such reversal, according to his own descriptions, passed through such experiences as the ordinary student could not endure and retain his sanity, and which even Levi could not think of without a shudder. Such diabolical experiences, while possible as a result of the perverted use of magic, are no more a necessary part of man's higher development than the ferocity and antagonism of beast, the deadliness of reptile, the poison of herb, or the devastation of storms and cataclysms are a necessary part of the phases of his physical development. Once created and brought into manifestation, however, they are utilized by the great law to awaken man to the necessity of seeking for a higher and more divine power than that of his mere human intellect. All such things ultimately work for good, in that even through suffering they teach man that he creates and evokes ill through his misuse or perversion of his God powers. All the sin, suffering, disease, antagonism, and unbrotherliness manifesting in the world today are the result of man's reversal or perversion of the sacred pentacle, i.e., himself and his powers. In the voice of the silence we read of the 7 portals which lead the aspirant across the waters onto the other shore, and the mystic keys which open them. The key which opens the 5th portal is the dauntless energy that fights its way to the supernal truth, out of the mire of lies terrestrial. For without this energy which knows no defeat, all his powers would remain dormant. In other words, it takes dauntless energy and clear seeing for man to balance in himself the extremes of the pairs of opposites, called here lies terrestrial. For it means being absolutely true to his real self, fixing his gaze upon the divine whose light alone can illumine the lower self and show him how to attain a just balance. This energy is quite as necessary in his spiritual unfoldment as it is in the accomplishments of his physical life. Let number 5 and its symbol, the pentacle, remind you first that man is both human and divine, that he stands to the lower kingdoms as a god, to bless or curse in proportion to the degree to which he finds a just balance and metes out just weight to all things. Hence at the entrance to the path of attainment stands the injunction, man, know thyself, for only as man knows his divine powers and his mundane pairs of opposites, and has earnestly gathered up all that he finds in the lower self, and has resolutely cast it into the crucible, that it may be purified and harmonized by the divine and brought to perfect balance in him, can he truly know himself. Let it also remind you that as man you stand in the center of your universe and are responsible for your use of the powers which enable you to rise to the heights of spiritual attainment or sink lower than the beasts. With this necessary prelude, try to realize that within you there is this divine, magical power of accomplishing of ruling yourself, the earth and the lower kingdoms, and of knowing the secrets of nature. But, beloved students, remember that this can be accomplished only by laying foursquare the mystic foundation stone in your hearts and lives, and upon it focusing the forces which you would use. For without this foundation, the forces you seek to use will tear you in pieces, and the structure of your lives will fall in ruins about your heads, like the man in the gospel who built his house upon the sand instead of upon the rock of truth. Your magic wand, with its pentacle, must first be pointed inward upon the stone and made to dominate yourself ere you can stand upon your foundation stone and dominate in the higher realms. Begin then today to realize your magical possibilities. Realize that your power is commensurate with the use you make of it. While you use it to oppress, degrade, or dominate your fellow men, or for selfish purposes, it is mercifully limited, but when lifted up upon the wand of spiritual aspiration, and filled with the flame of love, ardor, and fervor to accomplish the mission of the Christ, there is no limit to its possibilities. Realize that while there is one dark corner in your personality which you refuse to make obey your magic wand, by just so much is your power curtailed. You are glued to that spot, whatever it may be, until you have become its ruler. How can you look for spiritual power or expect to penetrate into the sixth realm when you have not dominated the fourth? When you have not laid your foundation stone foursquare and cannot dominate yourself? Again we say, man, know thyself.